So I already packed up my Panda, but I just wanted to show you that the gown will also fit for a baby that's aged approximately 3 to 6 months of age. This is the front, and here's the back. It fits perfectly. And I do have separate video tutorials for this adorable bonnet as well as her dress and baby booties. Just go to Helenmay Crochet YouTube channel, video tutorials, and you'll be able to find those video tutorials, step-by-step video tutorials. So for this video tutorial, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently, and I'm going to be following along with this pattern that I created. This pattern is available for free on my blog, www.helenmaycrochet.com. At the top of the home page, you'll see direct links to my prior blog posts. Click on that, and then you'll see the crochet Amigurumi large panda link on that page, that blog post. The panda has a separate video tutorial, and there's also a separate video tutorial for the graduation dress as well as the graduation cap. Someone had asked me to make a graduation cape instead of a dress, so that's why I wrote this pattern. But then some people have difficulties reading patterns and they like following the video tutorials instead. So I'm going to be following along with my written pattern, and like I said, you can get your free download off of my blog if you want to follow along and do it that way also. So the first page basically is just introducing what pattern that I wrote for, and this was for the, not the panda itself, but for the beginner bonus graduation gown. So then on the second page, I usually have abbreviations. So some of the crochet abbreviations and what they mean. The stitch in here that's a little bit more difficult would be the half double crochet 2 together. So I have the instructions here on how to crochet the half double crochet 2 together stitch. And then there's also a link for my Panda Bear video tutorial. So the Panda Bear doesn't have a written pattern at this time, but there is a step-by-step YouTube video tutorial. Then on my written patterns, I usually have a general materials list, and what you have to keep in mind is if you use a different yarn style or if you use a different crochet hook size, then it may alter your finished crochet graduation gown. So just keep that in mind. You can use any medium 4 sport black yarn. On video tutorial, I'm using a medium 4 purple. This is a really beautiful light pastel purple color that I'm using. This one's from Red Heart, and it's a medium 4 style yarn. You're also going to need a 6mm crochet hook, and you're going to need a button. So this button is just, I have a jar full of buttons. So if you find buttons, you can always, I always put them into a jar or keep them because you never know when you're going to need one. This button is approximately 2 centimeters in diameter. And you're also going to need a sewing needle and thread to sew the button in place. And you're also going to need a tapestry needle that has a large head for slipping the yarn through. And I usually like the ones with the pointed ends. So a tapestry needle or darning needle, and also a pair of scissors. So now we go to the next page, which is page 4, and we're going to be making the 2 front panels, and here's a picture to help you see what the front panels should look like when you're finished. And both the left and the right front panels are made the same way. So the first thing that we're going to do is make the starting chain, which will be a chain of 17. But on video tutorial, I'm just going to show you 4 chains, and then you'll complete the chain 17. So you just take your yarn, whatever color that you're using for your gown, and you're going to take it and fold it over on itself to form a loop. Take your 6mm crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb. Then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through the loop for your slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down. Cinch the loop around your crochet hook, and then we're going to make a chain. So the first thing you're going to do is just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2 chains, 3 chains, and 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 17 and then come back. So now you should have your chain of 17. And mine measures approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 inches. Now we're going to move to row 1. And so row 1 says that we have to make a 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. And then 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. So you just take your crochet hook and you're going to count 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to make a double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook. So you yarn over, go into that 4th chain from the hook, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2. Yarn over and turn the hook upside down and go through 2. Then you're going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. Sorry about that. So go ahead, finish making 1 double crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. So now you should have a total of 15 stitches completed after completing that first row. You're going to look at the pattern again. And the next part of the pattern is row 2 through row 8. And you can see that there's an asterisk. So I'm going to get back to the asterisk. You're going to to start row 2, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. So why don't we do that first for row 2. So for row 2, you're going to chain 3. Whoops. Bumped my camera. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work. Now you'll notice that your chain 3 is directly over the previous row's double crochet. So this chain 3 is your first double crochet for the second row. So you're not going to go into this stitch, you're going to go into the next stitch over. So you just yarn over, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, make your double crochet, and then you're going to make 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. I'll make 1 more with you, yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, bring the hook through 2 loops remaining, yarn over, and go through the remaining 2 loops. And you're going to repeat that all the way back across. So now this is what my work looks like so far, and each of the double crochet stitches should line up with the previous row's double crochet, and you should still be maintaining a stitch count of 15. So on the pattern, I'm going to be updating this. For those of you that had already downloaded my older pattern, I had to update it, make some corrections, there were some errors, and I also added the stitch count. So I'm going to be adding the stitch count for your free downloadable pattern. So we finished row 2, so now we need to finish up to row 8. So what it says is that you need to repeat from the asterisk 6 more times. So we're going to repeat this pattern 6 more times until we have a total of 8 rows. So you're going to move up to the 3rd row, so you know you have to chain 3. Here's 1, 2, 3. Then turn your work, and we know that that first chain 3 counts as your first double crochet for this 3rd row. You're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch to make your double crochet. And you're just going to keep repeating this, chain 3, double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across until you have a total of 8 rows, and then come back. So now I finished 8 rows of 1 double crochet in every stitch, and this is how my work looks. And the measurement is approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches in width and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches in height. So now we're going to create row 9, and with row 9 we're going to be creating the sleeve portion right here. So we're going to chain 14 and then turn our work and make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch and every stitch back across. So you're going to chain 14, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and finish your chain of 14. So now you can see how I have my chain of 14. I'm going to turn my work, and then you're going to want to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So count back 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, go into the 4th chain from the hook, create your double crochet. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into every stitch. Go ahead and make a double crochet in each of the chain stitches, and when you reach the main portion, come back and I'll show you what I do there. So far I have 12 double crochet stitches and I've reached the main portion. You're just going to continue making 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch back across, and you'll see how it created the sleeve portion of one of the front panels. So now this is how my work looks, and we're going to move up to the 10th row. So now we're on row 10 to row 12, and we have the asterisk again, so you have to pay attention to that. But for row 10 you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. And we're going to have a total of 3 rows like this. So you're going to repeat it 2 more times, just like we did up here, except for this row we did 6 times. So now we only need row 10 through row 12, so it'll be a total of 3 worked the same way. So now I'm going to chain 3 for row 10, turn my work, and make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. And when you finish row 10, you should have the same stitch count as row 9. So you should only have 27 stitches in row 10 when you're done. So now I finished row 10 and I moved up to row 11, and I'll make my double crochet in every stitch. So go ahead, finish row 11 and row 12, and then come back. So now this is how your work should look, and now the sleeve portion is right here, and altogether this is 9 inches in width and 3 inches in height. So now we're going to make the neck portion. Now when you form the neck portion, it's always going to be opposite your sleeve. So just make sure that you're opposite the sleeve. And this is going to be row 13. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 5 unworked stitches remaining in the row. So we're not going to put any stitches into those 5 last remaining stitches. That's what's going to be forming the neck. So you're going to chain 3 and then turn your work, and then you make a double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into each of the stitches back across except for the last 5 stitches for row 13. So now you can see that I have 5 stitches remaining. This is going to form the neck. Then let me count the stitches that I have for you. So you should have 22 stitches for the 13th row. And now you're going to make the 14th row, which is our last row. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and every stitch back across. Then you can finish off, and then make sure you leave a long loose yarn end for sewing. So you're just going to chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. So this is how my work looks so far. you can see how I have the neck portion, the sleeve portion over here. Then when you finish row 14, go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to help when you're sewing the pieces together. So now you have one of the front panels finished. Go ahead and make another one just like this one. So now you should have two of these, the left and right front panels. And you can see how the necks go together. And then here's the sleeve on the right panel, and here is the sleeve on the left panel. So now you can set these aside while we make the back panel. So this is what our back panel will look like when we're finished. And you're going to be using whatever color yarn that you're using for your gown. So for this one I used black, but for the one on video tutorial I'm using this really pretty purple colored one. So the first thing that it says is that you're going to need a starting chain of 53. So I'll get you started. You just take your yarn, fold it over on itself to form a loop, take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip stitch, or not slip stitch, slip knot. Then you're going to make your chain. So I'm going to show you 4 on video tutorial. You just yarn over and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, and 4. So go ahead, finish your chain of 53 and then come back. So now after you finish a chain of 53, you're going to look and see what it says for row 1. So for row 1, we're going to make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook and 1 double crochet into each of the stitches back across. And then for row 2 to row 8, you're going to chain 3. Here's your asterisk. And then you're going to make row 2 through 8. And here's your asterisk. So chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. Repeat from the asterisk. And I'm going to make corrections on my written pattern, so you'll be able to download with all of the corrections. And then you want a total of 8 rows. So again, we finished with the starting chain. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, so you count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and make your double crochet. And then 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. And then come back. So I just finished row 1. I have 51 stitches in the row, and then you're just going to move up to the next row just like we've done before. Chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the stitches back across. And keep repeating this until you have a total of 8 rows. Each row should have a total stitch count of 51. So now I finished this much with the back panel. I finished the 8 rows, and it measures 17 inches in width and 5 inches in height. So now we're ready to move to row 9. So for row 9, we're going to start the sleeve. So on the pattern, you're going to see that for row 9 you need to chain 14 for the sleeve, and then make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into the next 25 stitches. And this should bring you to the middle of the back. Now I'm going to see if it brings me to the middle of the back, and then I may have to correct this number here. So the first thing that the pattern says, the written pattern, is to chain 14. So here is where I left off on the 8th row. I'm going to chain 14. I'm just going to show 4 on video tutorial. So you just go through the loop for 1 chain, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 14 and then come back. So on the pattern, one of the adjustments I'm going to make is turn your work. So we're going to turn our work and then make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So here you can see how I have my chain of 14, and here is the main back panel. So now I'm going to turn my work so that the back panel is near my left hand and my right hand has the chain 14, and we're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. Moving my left and right front panel away. So you're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make a double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook. And then you're going to make a double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the chain stitches until you get to the main back panel. So you can see how I'm crocheting back towards the main portion of the back panel. This is one of the sleeves that I'm creating. So go ahead, make 1 double crochet in every stitch until you reach the main portion of the back panel, and then come back. So far I have 10 double crochet, and then I have 2 more chain stitches left before I reach the main panel. So here's my 11th double crochet and my 12th. So now you're going to make, this is where you start counting for the 25. So now I'm going to make 1 double crochet into the next 25 stitches on the main back panel. So here you can see that I said make 1 double crochet into the next 25 stitches. It's actually 25 plus 12 is going to be a total of 37 stitches, and that should bring you to the middle of the back. So I'll make those corrections on the new written pattern that I have available for free on my blog, www.helenmaycrochet.com. So now I'm going to make 1 double crochet until I have a total of 37 stitches, and I should end up in the middle portion of the back. So go ahead, finish your double crochets, and then come back. So now this is how my work looks. You can see how I have the one side, the sleeve portion complete, and then I stopped in the center of the back panel. So now you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop, and just bring enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then just pull the yarn and cinch that knot down. Then what you're going to do, we're still going to be on row 10. Actually, this is row 9. So we're still on row 9. And remember, these were the 8 rows down below. So now you're just going to take and join on the opposite side, because we need to make the sleeve on this side to complete the row 9. So now just get your yarn, and you're going to join it on the opposite side. We're still on row 9. We're just going to make the other sleeve. So just bring up a loop in that top stitch of the double crochet on the end. Then chain 1 and then tie a knot. And then we'll bury the loose yarn end later. So now you're going to make a chain of 14 on this side. So here on the pattern you can see that it says to join the your whatever yarn color that you're using on the opposite side and then chain 14. We're now making the opposite sleeve. Then you're going to repeat the same thing you did with the other sleeve. You make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch until you reach the point where you finished off on the opposite side. So you're going to start with a chain of 14. I'm just going to show you 4 on video tutorial. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish your chain of 14, and then come back. So the other thing that I'm going to add in here is after the chain 14, we're going to turn our work and then make the double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So those are some of the changes that I'm going to make on the written pattern for you. So here you have a chain of 14. You're going to turn your work just like we did for the opposite sleeve. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. And then come back. So here you can see how I finished my 12 stitches on the opposite sleeve, and I'm to the main portion of the back panel, and I have my loose yarn end. I'm going to go ahead and bury the loose yarn end as I crochet. So I just lay it across the top of the main portion of the back panel, yarn over, and then go right under the loose yarn end into the next stitch on the main portion of the back panel, and make your double crochet. That way you just bury your loose yarn end as you work. That way I don't have to bury it later. So now you should have met up with where we left off on the opposite side, and you're going to make a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first double crochet on the opposite side. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and bring the yarn through both loops for a slip stitch. So now this is how your work looks. I'm going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and turn your hook upside down and bring the yarn through just enough to bury into your work. And you should have a total of 75 stitches after finishing row 9. So here's what row 9 looks like. And now you're going to join your yarn on one of the ends. So join it on the side, on the right side. Go into the top stitch of that first double crochet. So here that chain 3, or not the chain 3, but the skipped stitches that count as your first double crochet, you're going to go into the top stitch, bring up a loop, then you're going to chain 1, and then tie a knot. And we're going to crochet around the loose yarn end and bury it as we crochet. So just lay the loose yarn end across your work so you can bury it, and then chain 3, and then make a double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. So this is row 10, and we're going to make row 10 to row 12 the same way. So again, we joined our yarn on the side of the back panel, chain 3, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch across. Then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch back across, and repeat that one more time for a total of 3 rows. You should finish off with row 12, but do not actually finish off and cut the yarn, because we're going to continue making the neck. So here I'm on this side, and I'm making 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. So when you reach the end, come back and I'll show you what to do next. So now I just finished the 10th row. So here's 8, and then 9, and then 10. And now we need 2 more rows. So remember, to start the next row, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. Then make a double crochet into the next stitch. Your double crochet stitches should all line up with the previous rows, double crochet stitches. And then you're just going to make 1 double crochet in every stitch back across, and you repeat this until you're on row 12, and then come back. And remember, this is row 9, row 10, and 11, so you should only have 1 more for row 12. So now this is what my work looks like. So I have both sleeves completed, and I'm on the 9, 10, 11, 12th row, and you're not supposed to finish off. Now we're going to go back to the pattern. and we're going to form the neck for the back panel. So you're going to line up your left and right front panels on top of the back panel, and then place our stitch markers. So you can use, if you don't have stitch markers, you can just use a scrap of yarn, and I'll show you that method. So you want to line up, and remember, this is going to be the wrong side up. Right side up. So this is the right side up, and then this is the right side of the front panel, the left front panel. So you want the wrong side of the left front panel facing you, because when you sew, you'll have the ridge on the wrong side, and then you open it up and have the right side. So wrong side up for this panel, right side up for the back panel. Then you're going to bring your other right front panel and line that up with the sleeve on the opposite side. Make sure that they're even and they line up. And now we're going to want to mark the back panel with a stitch marker. So for this left sleeve, I know that I have 22 stitches for the last row on the front panel. So I'm counting 22 stitches in, and then I'm going to place my stitch marker into the 23rd stitch. So if you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a scrap of yarn, just hook it and bring it through. Or you can use one of your fancy collectible stitch markers. I got mine from Pastiche Accessories on Etsy. Love those. Also, if you can't work the small clasp on the stitch markers, you can use a safety pin. So a safety pin works well too. So go ahead and count in 22 and place your stitch marker. And then you want to place your stitch marker on the opposite side too. So you count in 22 stitches and then place the stitch marker in the 23rd stitch on this side. Same thing on the opposite side. Then we're going to take and crochet where we left off. So on the written pattern, I'm going to add that in as far as the stitch markers. Now we're going to continue where we left off, and we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and make a double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch until we reach the stitch marker. You don't want to put a double crochet into the stitch with a stitch marker. So we're going to chain 3, turn our work, make a double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to the stitch before the stitch marker. So now this is how my work looks, and I've reached the stitch marker, and I did not make a double crochet into the stitch with the stitch marker. So now I'm just going to go ahead and remove my stitch marker. Then it says to chain 3, turn my work and make a double crochet into the next stitch and every stitch back across, then finish off. And then we're going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. And you should have 22 stitches total for these 2 rows. So I just finished 22nd stitch. I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and then make a double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. Then when you reach the end, you can go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then you just need to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. So now you have both sides finished. Here's the sleeve on the left side, the neck portion, and then the sleeve on the right side. So right now I have the right side facing up on the back panel. And then I'm going to take my front left and right panels and line them up on top of the back panel with the right sides together. then the wrong side of the front panel is facing up. Same thing with the other side. Face your front panels so that the sleeves line up and the neck portion lines up. Then you can take your tapestry needle or darning needle and get some yarn placed onto it for sewing. We're going to sew the front panels to the back panel. So you just want to get some yarn onto your tapestry needle. Then you're just going to take and start. I'll start on the bottom. So here on the bottom, I'm going to take the side panel of the front and the back panel and sew them together. So make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end for burying into your work. Just tie a knot. Then you're just going to go in and out with your tapestry needle along the side and just sew the two pieces together. And you're going to sew the side together, under the sleeve together, and then on top of the sleeve together, and then come back. Repeat the same thing on the opposite side as well. I just wanted to show you how I tie my knot after I'm finished. So I've already sewn the side under the sleeve and the top of the sleeve. Now I'm just going to tie a knot. I like to go through twice. And then I just bury the loose yarn end. So I just kind of weave it through the work. And then I like to go back. So that's how you bury your loose yarn end. Then you can take and trim the yarn. And I still have a little bit on my tapestry needle to sew somewhere else. Now after you finish sewing the front panels to the back panel, you can take and bury all of your loose yarn ends. So I just kind of weave them through, go through a couple different directions, and then just trim any loose yarn ends that you finished burying, and then come back. So now you can take and turn your work so that the right side is facing you. So you just take and turn the sleeves in, and now you have the right side facing you. Oh, I have one more loose yarn end I'm going to bury first. So now I have the right side facing me. You can see the beautiful right side seam. You don't have any ridges, and then it's sewn on top, so it looks really nice. But now you can see that the neck opening is too big, so I'm going to show you how to make the collar portion. So you're going to join here. The right side of the graduation gown is facing you. You're going to join your yarn at the left neck portion to start crocheting the collar. So I'm just going to join on the right side. You can join on the left side if you want to and then work it around that way. But I'm just going to work from the right side, and I'm going to join let me get a close up. So here on the neck portion only, I'm joining on the right side with my yarn. Make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end. And then chain one. And then just tie a knot. So I have the right side facing me on the front panel. And actually I lift it up so that the wrong side is facing me. But here's the right side, and then the wrong side. I'm going to bury the loose yarn end as I crochet, and then we're going to chain two. 1, 2. And that counts as your first half double crochet for the first round of the collar. So on the pattern for row 1, it says that we're going to chain 2, make 1 half double crochet into every stitch until you reach the back of the gown. So if you want, you can place stitch markers or a yarn marker on the back panel. So this is the sleeve portion. Here's the back panel, and then here's the opposite side on the back panel. So you can mark them so you know when you reach your stitch markers for the back panel. And then you're going to make 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. So to make a half double crochet, you yarn over, go into the next stitch, go behind any loose yarn end, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. And you're going to make 1 half double crochet in every stitch until you reach the stitch marker for the back panel. So again, you yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, go through all 3 for a half double crochet. Now here you'll see that you're working with double crochets on their side. So I'm just placing 1 half double crochet into each of the double crochet spaces. Now there's a space in between the half double crochet spaces. You could make a half double crochet in there, and then a half double crochet in the double crochet space on its side. And this space is so large, I'm going to go ahead and make another one in that space. So you're kind of evenly spacing them because you don't have one-to-one stitches. Trim my loose yarn end. Half double crochet into the next space, half double crochet into the next space, 1 more into the same space, and then 1 into the next. And now I'm at my back panel. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 half double crochet until I reach the back panel. So now I can remove the stitch marker, and I'm going to work half double crochet 2 stitches together all across the back of the panel. So to do that, you just yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 5 for a half double crochet 2 stitches together. And like I said, you're going to repeat that pattern, half double crochet 2 stitches together all across the back panel until you reach your next stitch marker. So you yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through all 5 for a half double crochet 2 stitches together. So I'm going to make 1 more with you. So now go ahead, finish making half double crochet 2 stitches together all across the back panel until you get to your next stitch marker. So I just finished making 16 half double crochet 2 stitches together across the back panel, and now I'm going to finish my half double crochets back to the opposite side. And so I had 14 half double crochet on this side, so I'm going to make 14 half double crochet evenly spaced on this side. So now we're on our last row. So the last row for the collar, row 2, we're going to chain 2 and make 1 half double crochet in every stitch until we reach the back of the gown. So here you're going to place your stitch markers again for the back of the gown. And that's where we're going to start our new pattern for the back of the gown for our decreased stitches, which means we're going to decrease the number of stitches across the back of the gown. So here I am, where I finished the first row. I'm going to chain 2 and then turn my work to go back across. And then I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and 1 half double crochet in every stitch until I reach the stitch marker for the back of the gown. So I just finished 14 half double crochet, including the first chain 2 that I made. Now I'm at the back of the gown. I can remove the stitch marker. And now the pattern says that you're going to make 1 half double crochet into 3 stitches and then half double crochet 2 stitches together. You're going to repeat from the asterisk until you reach the next stitch marker. So I'm going to go ahead and make 1 half double crochet into 3 stitches, and then I'm going to half double crochet 2 stitches together. Then I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into 3 stitches, and then half double crochet 2 stitches together. So I'm just going to finish this up with you. 1 half double crochet into 3, and then half double crochet 2 stitches together. Then I'm going to remove my stitch marker and then just make 1 half double crochet into each of the remaining stitches. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So for mine is 15 on this side, which is okay. Then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. So now you can take your favorite button and we're going to sew it. I have the right side facing me, and here's the right front panel and here's the left front panel. And I'm going to sew the button just beneath the collar. So remember, the last 2 rows that we made were for the collar. So just beneath that is where I'm going to sew my button in place. And make sure that you sew it to the post so the button doesn't fall off. So I'm just going to come with my sewing needle and white colored thread. I'm going to come from the wrong side. Now if you have a same colored thread as the outfit, you can use like a light purple or black color, whatever you want, but I'm just going to use a white colored thread and just sew the button in place. Then after you finish sewing the button in place, you can take and use the opposite side double crochet space between the 2 double crochet as a buttonhole, and then it holds the sides together.